Okay, and we're live. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a second. So fill up your coffee, take a quick bathroom break, and we'll see you soon. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us today on Dagger Community Call. We have two really awesome demos to show you today, and we also have some special guests as well. Before we get started, I just want to go through a few quick logistics in case this is your first one. So if you're watching us on YouTube, there is a chat feature, and we actually do get those chats directly. So feel free to add any comments or any questions into that chat. I will be monitoring it, but we also will be monitoring our Discord as well in the general channel. So if you have any comments, any memes, all those things, feel free to put them in the Discord channel. We'll be watching that too and asking the speakers on your behalf. So while we're getting started, if you want to add in the chat where you're watching from today, it's always fun to see where everyone is located. So looking forward to see those coming in. And then this is just a reminder too, as you're watching the demos or you have any questions, longer term, our Discord is always the best place to go. It's the place where everyone interacts basically 24/7 since our team's all around the world. And so feel free to go in there, ask any questions you have. It's great for beginners. It's great for experts. We have our whole team in there, but also some of our commanders as well who always step in to help so you won't get stuck. And then if you're watching this and want to submit a topic, I'm on Discord all the time as well. Feel free to just DM me on Discord, and I'm happy to add you to the agenda. We have our 2025 agenda we've been building, so really excited to see some new faces in there. And just a reminder, we usually would technically have a call January 2nd because these are every 2 weeks, but we will not be doing that. A bunch of us are actually out. So it's going to be a little easier logistically, and we want to make sure that if people are at work that they have a chance to catch up. So we'll skip the one in 2 weeks, but January 16th we'll be back. So if you have the calendar already added, the community call calendar already added to yours. I deleted that, so that's why you won't see that on your calendar. And let's get into fun stuff now. So who do we have on the panel today? Let's see. So let me remove this so I can actually see, and then we'll get into the agenda. So Dinesh, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you'll be demoing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone. So I am Dinesh, CTO at Civo, a public cloud company that has been using Dagger and Anger for about a year or so now. We're going to be demoing some of the behind the scenes of what we're doing, building a Dagger engine environment that's speeding up our pipelines.
I should probably not be on mute. I said awesome.
I'm impatient to see that. We've been talking about it for a while, and you're doing some special secret stuff behind the scenes. It's going to be cool to see.
I think it's using some experimental flags, which I may or may not need to know about.
Awesome. And Kyle, I think you might be doing a code demo with Dinesh today.
Yeah, so I'm Kyle. I'm on the ecosystem team at Dagger, and I'll be showing the Dagger side of this demo.
Awesome. And Solomon, who are you?
Hello, I'm Solomon, co-founder of Dagger. And today I'm going to try and teach an AI to use Dagger.
Awesome.
Well, that way I don't have to use Dagger anymore. It's just because humans are just tired of me annoying them with Dagger all the time. They just can't take it anymore. So I'm bothering the AI. Like, have you heard of Dagger? No, seriously, I think we reached there's sort of a breakthrough happening in that area. It's pretty amazing to see. So we'll talk about it in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm very excited to get into that and see what people's comments and the reactions to that for sure. And Jeremy, how are you
I'm here too. Yeah.
and
I'm just hanging out. I'm just, I just show up, from time to time and hang out and, make
We don't know who
comments.
Jeremy is. He just shows up every time. We just got used to it. We're just
I'm
like,
this guy, and
he's the official co-host.
yeah, exactly. So it's my part-time job as co-host here on the community call, and full-time working on the ecosystem team. So Kyle and I are out there talking to customers, partners, users, all sorts of folks out there in the ecosystem, and it's so fun. So love this call.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's very, very partner focused there with Dinesh being here. So
Absolutely.
all lines up. Awesome. Well, let me go through really quickly. We just talked about the agenda, but just to let everyone know, we'll go through the Sivo and Dagger demo first, and then we'll get into the AI one from Solomon. And then if we have some time, we may just kind of pull up the latest .15 release just to go through some of the quick notes there on some of the updates. So let's get into it. Should I put Kyle or Dinesh's screen on first?
Dinesh first.
Dinesh first. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to add you to stage, Dinesh. There we go. Perfect.
All right.
Go for it.
So, what Kyle and I have been working on is a set of Terraform infrastructure in Sivo that allows us to get a kind of what we're ending up with is a scalable Dagger engine in a Kubernetes cluster with the cache offloaded into an object store, so that as new engines start up, they're able to access that cache, and then they can kind of scale down and scale up. So you're getting sort of those cost efficiencies, but all of the benefits of still having this cache of all of the jobs that you're running. What I have been working on is the infrastructure side, and I know that there are some caveats on the Dagger side on how the cache works and everything. So I'm going to run through that sort of infrastructure bit first, and then hand over to Kyle to tell you when you should use this and when you shouldn't use it, and hopefully what's coming in the future. So this is the GitHub repo that we've got up. It's on our Sivo Learn Guide as a template. So you should be able to come over here and actually just use template, and then it will go off and create a copy of this in your own GitHub repos so that you can use it, you can iterate it on it, and kind of use it with your own secrets and stuff as you go about in your own Sivo account. I guess actually, does everyone know what Sivo is, or should I kind of do a little 30 seconds on what we do and what we're up to?
I think
Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So Sivo, we're building a public cloud. If I can type. So kind of our homepage, we're building out infrastructure around the world and giving you a public cloud to run infrastructure on. So that's managed Kubernetes, managed object stores, databases, and that sort of stuff. We are generally cheaper than other providers out there, but our real focus is on ease of use and what we call cost transparency. So that's based on, at the end of the month, your price stays the same unless you're making a change, and you don't get any of these hidden fees and stuff. I'm on the Discord. You can come and chat to me about what we do and what you see here, but I don't want to go too much. You can join a sales call or something if you want to hear more information about that. Cool. So we have a Terraform provider. So for those that know about Terraform, I'm just going to kick this off and running in the background, and then come down to this diagram here as kind of best that I could get with an AI to get this up and running. So we are spinning up a managed Kubernetes cluster inside Sivo, and also an object store, which is what you're seeing over here. Can I make that bigger nicely, or is GitHub gonna? No, not gonna make it nice. We're gonna use this object store as that cache. What our Terraform is doing is it's provisioning all of this infrastructure, gathering this secret, and injecting it into a namespace inside the Kubernetes cluster that we're spinning up. We've then got the Helm deployment of the Dagger engine that is then going to use that the cached secrets to use it when it's pulling information in and out. So coming into the Terraform here, we have got a list of things like our cluster, So very, very quick and easy to set up. I think it's only about 14, 15 resources in this entire repo to get you up and running. We've got our object store here. So this is the sort of credentials for it and the object store itself. And this, if you've not seen it before, is using the Kubernetes secret resource inside what Terraform provide. And this is the key in particular that we're writing into the secret. So this is the experimental Dagger cache config that I mentioned at the start of the call, and a long string of options that get passed through the region that you're in Civo, and then the credentials, the access key, and the secret access key, and the object store name that is listed in here. I will caveat, this is very much a demo, a proof of concept. I do not recommend doing this in production. There are much better ways of doing it with secret stores and everything. Hence why this is the template that you can take on and kind of configure to best practices for the security best practices in the company that you're in. But this kind of shows you how to get up and running with it. What I've then done as well is I've got a copy of the Dagger engine in here.
Hey,
And
Dinesh, just a clarifying question. Sorry. This
Yeah.
is using Civo's object storage service that happens to be S3 compatible. So
Yes.
you can use Dagger's built-in support for S3.
Exactly, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and what's really nice about this is that the cluster, wherever that is, here, is in the same region as the object store. And I know, because I built the cloud that this is running on, that there's like 50 gig of network transport between each of these. The object store is on things like NVMe drives, and then a caching layer down and everything. So that speed of reading and writing out of the cache is really, really quick, because it's almost like there's one cable in between the VM and the object store.
Nice.
So yeah, the other thing I just wanted to say is that you will need to be aware about is that I have put in a N from secret into the Dagger engine Helm chart that we're using to deploy. I'm talking to Kyle about pushing this upstream, and I think I've just been demo slow about getting this through. But this is just passing through into the daemon set. If you're aware of Kubernetes here, this N from secret ref. And what that is doing is having that environment variable that we defined piped through into the Dagger engine, and it just appears magically for the Dagger engine to use. So, of course, because it's a demo, this is going to take a little while to run and get up and running. But I believe Kyle has one he built earlier. If we swap over to Kyle, and we can carry on from here.
I love cooking shells.
Exactly. The classic cooking show demo. Now this is completed and it's all great.
And now
yeah,
the is done.
Exactly. So we can see the Terraform completed. One of the outputs or the main output of this Terraform run is that it drops a kube config in my local directory, so I can actually set my kube config based on this file. I won't show the file because then you can all mess with my cluster while I'm trying to make things work. And then I can actually run kubectl get nodes, and I can see that we have 3 nodes running. If I look at the variables for this Terraform, so if I look here, so we defaulted to...
We would never mess with your
3
config,
nodes.
Kyle.
Yeah, please. Exactly. I trust all of you, but also, I don't know, it's boring SSH keys anyway. So we have 3 nodes and our object store and all these things. And so if I look over on the Civo side, we can see I have my cluster with 3 nodes. We can look at it, and it's just running and it's loading that. There we go. So there's our cluster. We can see it's K3s. Here's an API endpoint if you do want to mess with me. And then over on the object store side, we have that object store created for the Dagger cache. And so it's got a prefix and then Dagger object store. And we've got this directory, Dagger engine.
Okay.
This is where all the cache links go. Go ahead.
I was just hoping it was going to be 500 gigs. I was like, because like from the YAML, I was like, is it going to be 500 gigs? It looked like it was going to be, and it looks like it is. Yeah.
There we go.
Very cool.
So Terraform did what we told it to, which is always great. So now I can also, so we looked at earlier our nodes. We can also look at our actual engines running in this Kubernetes cluster. So if I say get pods in the Dagger namespace, we've got this 3 engines created from the Helm chart. So the next step, if we look at the README, there we go, is, so we've done our Terraform. So now, just to demo this locally, I'm actually going to set my engine to just point at one of those nodes. In production, you'd realistically have something like running in the nodes alongside the engine pointing at the local engine, all these complicated setups, and we can get more into that too. I think we have a few docs pages about that. But for now, what I'll do is run this. And then, why did that break? It just worked. Let's just go to...
I think it might be white base at the end of the lines as you've gone up.
Yeah, we'll just pull one for my history instead of glow. There we go. Okay. So now if we look at, oh no, there we go. This variable I just set, and then look at the pods again. We can see we're pointing at this pod. So our engine pod name with this command, we've found this pod name. And so now what we'll do is actually set our engine to that pod name. So if I say export this one, is probably right. So we're going to say our runner host is kubepod, that name we just saw, and then Dagger namespace. And then we can look at that too. Okay, so now I've told my Dagger client that when I run, this is where my engine lives. So it's in this pod. I'm assuming there's some things under the hood that do some fancy stuff to connect through my kubeconfig or something. I'm not actually sure, but I assume with this namespace that it'll use my kubeconfig because somehow it gets connected. So I can actually now do a Dagger call. And let's see, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted, go back to here. I wanted to run this command and I'll show what this is doing. So here we're just using a Dagger core command to get a container from Alpine. And then we're going to add the curl package to that container. And then we're just going to curl the Dagger.io site. And then we're just going to look at the standard error. So we have some output to look at, but it's not like thousands of lines of JavaScript. So if I run this, we'll connect to that engine running in our Kubernetes cluster. Oh, and we got white spaced again.
Oh, man.
There we go. Now it's okay. Saved. So we connected to our cluster. It ran that install, and then we've got some output. And of course, if I run that again, it will be cached all the way through. So if we go back and look at our object store now, Dinesh talked about, we have that S3 thing pointing at the blob store to say, hey, engines, when you have cache, export it to this place. And so we can go, let's look at maybe the blobs here. And then let's see, it's maybe give it some chances to refresh. I'm not sure actually how fast it uploads, but let's look at this side too. So it's 22 after, and this is
21.
Yeah, I think maybe I ran it a minute ago. We should see some new blobs show up here too. So they're probably getting uploaded. Actually, I could probably look at, I think I have a cool command here in my history. So I can actually look at the logs from that pod that is our engine. And we can see that, let's see, we finished our session. And then there's probably some things in here about cache exports. and all these things. So
yeah, I saw cache export. Yeah.
yeah, it's calling the exporter, which is probably the thing that we're looking for, waiting for cache export. So things are happening. We've got some caches up here. Let's refresh this. Okay. Anyway, so now the idea with this is you've got a bunch of these nodes, right? And if each of these nodes has an engine, and those engines are actually using like a volume on the node as their like local cache volume too, so that if your engines are ephemeral, like they're getting spun up as a new engine with every CI run or something like that, then you're going to have this cache already locally from the node, but also we've connected them to this blob store, so that now if I go to my variables,
And I'm going to ask you something really quick, Kyle, while you're doing this.
Yeah.
Because you're going to spin up a new one. It looks like a new node, right?
Yeah.
So here's my guess is that since you're attached to just one node when you were, one engine that was, and we had one engine per node, right? So that when you got that cached result, you were getting the cache was coming from the local storage of that node. And I don't know if it's going to be the case, but I just like predict, why not, that maybe it'll be like 5 minutes before the cache export happens. Maybe it's 5 minutes, who knows? And they say if that were the case, then we would see it go to the Civo blob store, and then it would get it'll get synced to this new node. One would think.
Yeah. So I think the way we use it in Civo is that we use GitLab. So we have the GitLab runners running in this cluster. And the way that works is every time a new job kicks off, a new pod is spun up on any one of the 3 nodes, and it connects to the local Dagger engine over the socket. So there's a shared socket between the engine and then the GitLab process, and it pulls the cache down and everything. And regardless of which engine it eventually runs on, our job gets the benefit of the caches as it's gone through everything, and we don't need to worry about that. And then we also auto scale as well, so that during the night when it's only me working crazy hours, it's down to a single runner, and then as the rest of the team come online, we scale up through the day, and then we scale back down.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, exactly. So in this demo, I'm connecting to a specific node, but in reality, like in CI, your job is going to be associated with a node, and every job will have a different node. And so what we'll do to actually show this is actually point our local one to the new node, but in reality, it would just be whatever node your job lands on, it's going to be hooked up to that engine. So yeah, when we ran it before and saw the caching, that was connecting to the same engine we had in the previous run, which is why it was like immediately cached. But all this is cool because it's layers of cache, right? So you've got the caching local to that engine, and the caching persisted to that node. Now we've got an additional layer of the caching also synced across the blob store. So you've got kind of like best effort layers of reliability here, so that as we're scaling, we can have at least something, right?
Yes.
So now we can see if that pods up, and it is, and we can check our engines, get pods. And so now we've got this new engine here. And so let's actually export this one, and let's go for index 3, and we'll just make sure we got the right one. Pod name. And so we've got the H6 WBZ, and let's set our engine again.
And while you're doing that, Kyle, so like, Dinesh, do you then, were you saying that then you run persistent engines like this, or are your engines more ephemeral?
So our engines are persistent, but then the pods that get spun up to run an individual job are ephemeral.
It's like a runner pod on GitLab.
A runner pod.
Yeah.
A runner pod in GitLab is ephemeral.
Cool.
I think that's because we were Donka.
Totally.
So fingers crossed. Like I said, all the layers are best effort. So let's see how we go here. So we're connected, and we ran some things. Okay, so we didn't hit the cache this time, but the S3 thing is best effort, and I hope in the near future we can have something much more robust on the Dagger side that we can offer for the caching layers like that, where you're kind of layering things on top of layers to try and more reliably hit cache across runs.
Can we see if the export is happened now? Just for fun, just look at the.
Yeah, I mean, it's
blobs.
we have things here we can go back and look at.
I've got the lucky cat with me now, so hopefully
come on.
everything's different now.
Hey, Dinesh, do you use like a big shared manifest for all jobs, or do you namespace it? So do you namespace it somehow to have different pools of cache separated logically between different pipelines?
So we run a monorepo, so it's all just under the same thing, and we load the entire monorepo into is our first caching layer into our Dagger pipelines. So I know when I was talking to Kyle a little while ago that as you have different namespaces and you have different projects, this doesn't work as well. For our use case, it works really well.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it doesn't work perfectly, but what's tough with caching is it's actually hard to measure accurately how well any technique works. You know, we're all missing the iteration loop where you can just go boom, 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 10% better, 20% better, 30% worse. You know, like we're all kind of guessing. But yeah, I've been playing with that a little bit. But there are options though. Like you can probably squeeze some extra benefits out of this really easily just by tweaking how just inserting a little bit of application specific knowledge into the configuration. You know, like that. The one thing we were just talking about with Kyle and a few others is that I feel like one pattern that's underused is separating, not always having every pipeline upload its entire cache when it's done. You can actually configure, you probably know this, but I'll just say it for everyone, but that experimental cache config that is directly, it's basically passed through the build kit. You can tweak different aspects of how it exports, and you can actually say only import, don't export. Of course, you need something to be in there. So at some point, you need to run a pipeline that will export cache data. Otherwise, there's nothing to import. But in some experiments that I've done, I've found that pre-running something, maybe something with a lot of cache data ahead of time and exporting, and then having a bunch of, maybe most of your production pipelines actually only import. That seems to be a very promising pattern, especially if then you add a second technique, which is to use the same bucket, but then namespace, use a different manifest for different types of pipelines. And that one you have to kind of key that in yourself. Like, okay, my tests, this big test pipeline over here, this other thing over there. And that's relatively easy to do. But yeah, then there is just a limitation of BuildKit's cache export. And just for commentary there, the reason caching is not fully solved with Dagger yet is our cheat code for almost every feature of Dagger is we start with what BuildKit does, and it works pretty well, and then we just kind of improve from there. But in the case of BuildKit, caching is just pretty remote cache. Local cache is great. Remote cache is just not great. So the S3 cache export that we're all building on has a lot of fundamental issues, and it works enough, but it's really pretty limited. So unfortunately, the way we move forward is we just re-implement that ourselves in Dagger, and the good news is we start doing that. But yeah, once that's done, things will unblock, and a lot of it'll be much easier to build caching scenarios like this. They'll just be rock solid and 10 times better with relatively little effort. Fingers crossed.
No, absolutely, fully understand that. And caching is incredibly difficult. And I have to say, there was a lot of crafting and finessing that I did in the Dagger pipeline we use in our monorepo to make the most of caching. And actually, if you look at all of my questions in the Dagger Discord. They're all about how do I ensure cache hits? And I've done this weird thing. It's missing the cache. How can I change it to get more cache hits?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same. Same.
Yep.
I think that's
But
a
it's there's movement there. I mean, there is ongoing work, and it's going to get better.
Yeah, and that is a shout out to also all of our community members, including yourself, Dinesh, who continue to ask questions in the Discord and report things for your use case, because it makes it it's really helpful for us, because, and we're like Solomon said, sometimes we're hitting the same thing for our own own pipelines, and so seeing other people hit things and being able to work with you and also pressure test things when we do have fixes is great. Actually, it reminded me, because you mentioned monorepo, we have some documentation and kind of best practices we're actually working on right now, because we get those questions a lot about how to get started with those. And so definitely want to send that your way for feedback. But also, if there's other community members watching this and you have monorepo and you're getting started with Dagger and you have questions, Discord is a great place to go, because we can answer them. But also, we want to get your feedback on if the documentation works for all of you. So it's good to know who I can reach out to for that. Kyle, did you want to show anything else on a specific demo?
No, I think I was just trying to try something real quick as we are talking through that. But if you want to share that that Sivo Learn repo, Dinesh, and more people can try it out.
Yeah, I'll put that. I will put that link in the chat so everyone can get up on Discord and here. And then also, if we mentioned as things will get better, is that we also are going to be at Sivo Navigate in San Francisco in February. So we get to join Dinesh and his team there. I think we're planning, it's not in stone yet, but I think we're all doing a workshop. But also, I do know Solomon is keynoting, so we're really excited about joining. And we also, Sivo Cloud has some credits as well, so I'll put that in the chat with the link to go to, and that way you can get started. And then we'll continue to work on Sivo/Dagger documentation together. So if anyone has questions, you can go into our Discord, and I believe we have a channel, but just throw it in general if you have any questions about getting started. So
yeah, I was gonna say that the credits are great because I was able to do that demo without needing to expense anything.
Perfect.
So just create an account, and there's some free money to try stuff out. So
I love it. I love it. But you owe them 79 cents. So
well, yeah, that'll come out of my
credit.
money. Don't worry.
It's under credit.
Yeah, we're good.
Love it. Well, thank you both for doing the demo. Appreciate it. So let me see if there's any questions. I don't see any questions coming in. So I think maybe we can move Solomon to your AI demo. If you are you okay with
Yeah,
me?
let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Add the state.
Let's go. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go on a wild experiment together. I have my shell on the left. I have my little Dagger cloud on the right. By the way, this is our team, the Dagger orgs landing page. So you can see our CI on the left. Of course, it's all Dagger traces coming in. And on the right, you can see the team working on their laptops with Dagger. This is me getting ready for the demo. We're going to need this later. So where do I start? Okay, so we've been developing this new feature called the Dagger shell. And you should really try it out, Dagger shell. This is a glimpse at the future of Dagger because it's going to be a way to use the Dagger CLI that is 10 times nicer. It's going to be both simpler and more powerful. But for now, it's experimental. It's kind of a hidden command, but it's usable. I encourage you all to try it. So anyway, here we are developing on the shell and just figuring out the best syntax and the best UX. And at some point, I started asking ChatGPT, hey, does this make sense to you? And then I realized, hey, I could just copy paste. I could pretend what would happen if I, instead of telling GPT about the shell, I just simulated that GPT actually typing commands into the shell. So then I did this in a very crude way. Initially, I just copy pasted stuff in and out. I said, you're using a shell. It's new, figure it out. And then I would just copy exactly what's on the terminal, and then it would send me a command. I would type it back and forth. And actually, I was really amazed by how quickly it picked it up. And all the times it got stuck, it kind of made sense that it got stuck. Like a human would also get stuck here. And so we've been using this a little bit, but more and more as a sort of a QA tool, right? The UX, part of our UX design process, which I think is very exciting. And then separately, we're like, there were like everyone, we have tasks that would be kind of a pain to do for us, and we're like, we'll do it later. For example, this Daggerverse examples situation where to have really cool examples of how to use a module in the Daggerverse. We have some generated ones, but they're just very basic. A human needs to write one that makes sense to really illustrate, but that's work. So we added a system, shout out to Marcos for getting that to work, where you can actually write a little module, like a submodule that's an examples module that uses your main module. And then Daggerverse will scan that and kind of render it in the page, and it looks really nice. But you have to do that in every language if you want us to show the examples in every language, right? And just to show you that real quick, what's I think K3S has one, right? I think Marcos used, yeah, so this is a good example. So Marcos went to the trouble of writing an example of how to use his K3S module. So here it is. So you can see it's like an interesting example, actually, put some thought into it. The problem is it's really a pain in the ass to do the exact same thing 3 times in 3 languages, not to mention shell. And so, we said, okay, well, we'll get to it with an LLM. This is definitely a thing an LLM can do, but we got to build an agent to do that. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So we got a bunch of those, and I was thinking, well, what if we couldn't ChatGPT, couldn't GPT in theory or an LLM use the shell to just do things? And so I thought, okay, let's try to do that. Could we actually get GPT to use the shell for real and just turn it into an agent, kind of like a cheap poor man's agent? Because people develop these really complicated agents with tons of Python and just these weird custom tools. And I'm not an AI engineer. I don't know, but Dagger is pretty powerful, and so let's see how far we can take it. So that's the challenge. Let's see if we can turn Dagger into an AI agent, basically. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So this is the Dagger shell. You can do things like, container from Alpine terminal. Boom. I got a container in Alpine and I got a terminal. So this got really nice, intuitive Bash compatible syntax for doing stuff, right? With directory, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do a whole demo because I don't have enough time, but you should check it out. I made a module, which you can go check out. It's on github.com, sykes, which is my experimental modules /GPT. And the cool thing is, in the Dagger shell, by the way, a module is something you can run. So you just type the name of the path of your module, and then you press enter, and it's going to run your module. By the way, that in itself really deserves a demo because it's so cool. I can get the docs, and it says, well, you need an API token, open API token. That makes sense. And so I'm just past my, I think, 1 second. I gotta set my, by the way, can't wait for Andrea's PR to drop so that this is just magically built into the Dagger shell.
Little 1Password lookup there. Very nice. Very nice.
Yep. Okay, so this, by the way, this tells you you're in the Dagger shell. You're in new territory. You're in the future. You're in the past. You're in the future. Okay. So, okay, what can we do? Let's just see what's in that module. You can ask. That's the main thing. So you can say, for example, how are you today? And then there's a little log. Is it log? There's a log method that would kind of shows the history, right? Oh, that's not, ignore that. That's my secret magic prompt. How are you today? I'm just a program. I don't have feelings, blah, blah, blah. Okay, where do we go from here? Do you know how to use the Dagger shell? Okay, see this? This is a knowledge lookup. I'm going to explain how it works. But basically, I figured out how all these agents have this knowledge feature. and I implemented it in my module. This module is like 300 lines of Go. And most of it is just dealing with OpenAI. It's like 101 OpenAI chatbot example. It's really simple. I'll explain how it works later. Let me just dive in. Okay, what did it say? It said yes. So I asked, do you know how to use the Dagger shell? It looked up knowledge, which I injected. I'll show you later, but it's just text files. How to explore the shell, various examples of using that. Okay, I've learned. Here's how it works. Use .helps. Here's some examples. So okay, it's got some knowledge. I will say it's not perfectly smart about using the Dagger shell because I have to get better at teaching it. But the dev loop for teaching it is really nice. The first thing I learned is that the model for Dagger modules fits perfectly with the model for AI agents and just AI LLMs in general, because it's all immutable. It's just operations on immutable inputs that produce immutable outputs. There's no global state, prompt in, answer out, or tool call out, and just kind of keep chaining. So here, for example, I can say, what's my name? And it's going to say,
Is this, you don't need to use last response anymore?
what?
You were, I think you
Oh,
showed.
well, there is last reply. Oh, I think I hit it. Oh, that was stupid. Yeah, now you have to look at the whole log every time. That's kind of dumb. Anyway, let me collect my thoughts here for a second. Let me just get to the cool part.
Cool.
Build me a container from Alpine. Install SSH and Git. Copy the source code of GitHub Dagger into reasonable path. Make that path the work tier. Push the container to TTL-SSH. Shout out to whoever's running this registry. It's like pastebin for Docker images. Very, very convenient. Okay. And then let me see what
you have an extra G in Dagger. I wonder if it can figure that out.
I'm not going to try that right now but we can try after. Okay, so the cool thing is I'm going to switch over here to Dagger Cloud, and I'm going to look at the trace for this. And so we're going to see in real time, this is my shell session. Let's dive into this part. Ask this. And so, okay, look at the right. The same thing's happening on the left. This is me talking. This is the AI looking up knowledge. This is the AI typing commands in the shell. And you see it, doc, okay, error, stdlib.doc. So it's kind of figuring it out. Okay, container from, no, that didn't work. See, not imperfect knowledge, but the nice thing is it's kind of figuring it out. See, like, oh, I forgot the pipe. Let me put in the pipe. Oh, let me do this. No, that's not right. That's not right. Okay, you're really struggling, buddy. Okay. But it's kind of figuring it out. Okay, it's getting somewhere, right? So this is a valid shell command. So it figured out it can use the built-in Git support to fetch the repo, get the head branch, get the tree. That does not make sense. Oh yeah, I guess it is. It does. Okay, weird way to do it, but sure, why not? Yeah, see, okay, this one's interesting.
I guess this is checking the source code out on your local machine and then inserting it into the container
it's fetching it from Git.
Is that running inside the container, or is that running it on your local Dagger shell?
Well, it's running in a Dagger function, which I called from my local Dagger shell. But the function is, as usual, it's fully sandboxed. So I didn't give it access to anything.
That's the Git from the core API of Dagger, right?
Exactly. Yep. So this is like dag.git.
Right. Okay.
It's calling the Dagger API. I should have maybe mentioned that. The Dagger shell is basically a bash compatible front end to the Dagger API. Okay, so it's frustrating because it's being particularly dumb this time, but it's also interesting to see what happens because look at this one, for example. It messed up. And the error, we also messed up because our errors are not clear in the shell right now. If you execute a command, you don't actually get the error. It just says the command failed, which makes it really frustrating to debug. This is a frustration I have. So this is the AI dealing with the same frustration as me. Look what it does. How to get useful errors in the shell, because I dropped that knowledge. And then I give it a tip. And what's the tip? the tip is, well, try to expect any error and grab standard error yourself, which it did. And here it's getting, that one's tricky. With exec, actually, that one's completely a big mistake. Okay, I don't know if it's going to figure it out. It seems that there may be confusion. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's trying to pass. I don't know why it's trying to pass these arrays. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so now let's try this. Okay, since this is an excuse, since it's struggling here. What's interesting, you know how when we show Dagger modules and it's really amazing, but it fails because your code is wrong in the module. You get a compile error in Go, and then you open the IDE, and your demo failed, but actually is great because you're showing that there's it's just code. You're now fixing errors in your module the way you would fix errors in any code, and that's kind of the point. This is the same for AI agents. You know, the ideal dev loop and for an agent is that the knowledge is wrong, the prompt is wrong, and you just got to iterate on that, right? And so here, the nice thing is, it turns out that the like I said before, the Dagger model is perfect for this because I can insert knowledge. So for example, let me just simplify. Let's forget the Dagger shell for a second. You know, what are my kids, like, you know, how old are my kids? Oh shit, okay, wait, I'm showing off an even cooler feature that I didn't want to show yet. Okay, wait, other question. Who's on the call with me right now? How to use a terminal. Okay, that's not going to help you. Okay. Okay, wait. Sorry, this is kind of too meta. It tried to interact with the host computer to figure out. I don't know. Okay, forget Dagger for a second. Who am I talking to on the phone? You know, who's sitting next to me?
Who is sitting next to you?
I don't have the capability to know who's sitting next to you. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to inject in this
That's
pipeline.
probably good.
I'm going to say with knowledge. Yeah, that's probably good. This is when I hear my robot cleaner,
for now,
you know, power up and come closer.
Say, let me talk to your refrigerator.
With knowledge, okay. User surroundings. Information about the user's surroundings. And I'm going to say the user is currently sitting next to, you know, virtually next to Jeremy, Dinesh, Kyle, and Miranda. And now I'm going to ask again. This is, see what I mean by the full stateless, just rerun, the context will rebuild, just like it's just a pipeline, right? Okay. Oh, come on. Always the demos. Okay.
Dinesh, where's your lucky cat?
She's probably no. She's behind me. If I pick her up,
Who is sitting?
we'll see what happens.
That's why.
She's a bit unhappy, but she's
Okay.
here. She's here.
Yeah.
We'll see how I'm being very specific because I'm not a good prompt engineer, so I don't know all the tricks. But I think Dagger is gonna help the experts who are great at prompts and knowledge base, etc., actually develop faster. That's kind of my the spoiler is we actually showed this yesterday to a real AI engineer, and he's like, I want to use this instead of LangChain for my next agent because this solves like a major problem for all AI engineers. Because it turns out all the problems that we have with CI/CD pipelines, all these agents have them like 10x. Like there's no repeatability of anything. The loop is just a super pain in the ass. And that's true even for simple things like that. If you add RAG and lookups, you know, knowledge bases and integration with external tools and APIs, it's just like all these things need to be containerized like yesterday. And I think with these capabilities, we have a way to do it. So let me just show you what I mean. Okay, so this was a simple example of this knowledge injection, right? Just this is the description, and this is the content. And so the model just kind of figures it out. Like, okay, this seems like I should look it up. So you did look it up. And you can probably see here also being looked up, you know. By the way, shout out to Alex and everyone who's working on this tracing feature, because I just added, you know, these are custom OpenTelemetry spans. I'll show you the code after. The module is really not that complicated. Okay, so this is how it works, right? And this is how I've injected this knowledge about the shell. So let me just, sorry, this is kind of an unstructured demo, but no, using this, I'm just going to inject a little more knowledge. But, you know, if you go to my module, I'll just show it to you. There it is. Like the whole thing is like, okay, 400 lines. This is, like, I could actually erase this. It's like back and forth, like API queries. It's very simple. This is the state of the model. Half of this is just debug stuff, but this is the token. This is the model name, like GPT-4 or whatever. This is debug. This is just for looking at what happened. Debug. This is more debug. Knowledge base, like the thing I just injected, it's just an array of knowledge objects, and the knowledge is this is it. 3 strings. That's it. And then I just plug them into OpenAI API. And then as a convenience, here you can see when I initialize, I say, I have a little system prompt, and then there's a knowledge dir. So as a convenience, you can pass a directory with text files. Okay. So here you can see there's a default knowledge directory, and literally a knowledge directory is a bunch of files. And I just wrote a bunch of stuff, like how to interact with Git repositories. Like literally, you all should read this. Actually, if you want to know about the shell, read the same stuff I'm telling the agent.
Docs.
It will help you
These are the
figure it out.
docs for the AI. Yeah.
Eventually, this should be the docs. So, you know, Vikram, if you're listening, this impacts how we think about docs in general, I think. But you can just add more.
While you're talking about docs, something that I've been doing a lot when I've been trying something similar in however I'm doing it, is that docs at the moment are designed for humans in terms of their multi-web pages.
Mm-hmm.
What I've been trying to do is basically use a web scraper to scrape the entirety of a docs, getting that into the context of an LLM. And the first thing I ask the LLM is, given all of these docs, summarize them into a really short thing, and then I'll start a new conversation with the context from that.
So that's just the thing. I'm going to try to overcome the temporary dumb, stupidity of my poorly trained agent. I'm going to run the local version so that I can actually add. So here I'm just going to add. We can iterate on the knowledge directly, right? Like here I can say, and it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. I'll just run the local version of this module. Same idea. And okay, what you just said, this is the key. What I learned from agents, from the state of the art of agents, is that models are like a brain in a jar. They're just floating, immensely smart, unable to interact with the world in any way. And then you plug tubes into the jar, and there's 2 types of tubes, like the blue and the green tubes. The blue tubes are knowledge. You just plug in the ability to look up knowledge. I'm simplifying. And then there's the red tubes, or whatever I said, are tools, and they allow you to interact with the world, do stuff. Those are completely separate, and both are highly custom, a lot of engineering, and it's all outside of the jar. Like the brain just has them, it uses them or not, but it has no ability to kind of create its own. And if the agent's not doing the job well, you just kind of turn it off, you upgrade or refactor the tools or the knowledge or both, and then you turn it back on and you try again. And so it's just like Westworld, just the robot wakes up and it starts over. But in the real world, like that's not how humans do it, right? There's no clear separation between knowledge and action. Like if you ask me to read the docs and summarize the docs, I'm gonna open a browser and go read them, and then I will build knowledge, and then I will tell you what I learned, right? Well, walk to the library and open a book. That's an action, right? So I think the Dagger shell, with all the power under it, including the ability to explore what's available, extend it with custom things, load modules, like any Git repo out there can become a Dagger module. It can be more actions, right? It seems to me the model can use that to figure out on its own how to acquire more knowledge. So for example, I could say, let me try, like, explore the Dagger docs in the Git repo, Dagger docs, current docs. Look around, pick a few files to read. .md extension, tell me what you learned.
I mean, this becomes really powerful because it just automates what I just said. If you could say, here is the Git repo, here is the docs.
Exactly.
And tell it, you
That's
are
the
now
thing.
a developer. Summarize it for me and spit it
Yeah.
out at the end.
See, look what I just did right there. See that one? It was like, okay, I can get the branch, I can glob, I can search, I can read a file, right? I can get its contents, and just kind of figuring it out. Again, not in not a very smart way, because I'm not a great AI engineer. But the thing is, this was like 2 days of tinkering, and the loop is insane. Like probably I can spot errors and like archiving. Okay.
I mean, what's amazing too about this is that you're using shell twice, right? So you're in the shell, and then you get this continuous stream of the session, but then the AI is also using the shell. The agent's also using the shell itself to explore and execute. So you get these two loops.
Yep.
Really powerful.
Okay, so now back to the nice thing also is in our context, the context of CI and DevOps, the nice thing is with these modules, we've created reusable dev environments, basically, right? So like, for example, a human, I can say, shout out to our friends at Cubes, awesome gaming startup. You should really check it out. Programmable games like Minecraft meets Roblox. Plus they're about to embed it directly in Discord. Mind blown. But anyway, they use Dagger. And so they have a module. So I can load that module and say, okay, what can I do with that open source repo? Pending cache improvements, which we talked about before. So now it's that is not in cache. Let's sit tight for a second. Nice thing is when I'm going to ask the AI to do stuff with that repo, the AI will also benefit from the cache. So that's nice.
Higher level question about shell in general from Napuna. How does it relate to the host? So he's asking, like, how does it read your environment variable, for example?
So the shell, it's the CLI itself that runs the shell. So the shell is really, it's an interpreter baked into the CLI. And so it doesn't run in a container. It's not sandboxed. It's so anything the CLI can do, the shell can do. And at the moment, but it has to use the core API. So for example, there's an object, the Dagger API has a host function. By the way, we have autocompletion in there. So you can say, and there's a standard library built in to kind of show you available functions in our little standard library. So this is what you can say, okay, container, directory. There's a host. So you can say host. And from here, you can say host, directory, host file. This is how you tunnel services. This is the API that the Dagger CLI already uses. It's just that it kind of hides it from you because the syntax is not of Dagger call is not powerful enough to let you express it. So we have these shortcuts, like you say, how you can pass when you pass a directory as an argument, you can pass just a remote URL directly. Well, under the hood, it's going to call get, etc. If you pass a local path, it's actually going to say, it's going to call host.pipe directory. But here you can be explicit. So you can say, container from Alpine with mounted directory in /workdir, the result of host directory, dot, and give me a terminal. And then that's the local directory and the host, right? Stuff like that. So we have full interaction with host. The environment variables, it turns out we don't have that in the core API, but now we're going to bring it back because it's useful. You just got to be careful to not copy paste any random scripts that someone tells you to run in the Dagger shell, because it is not perfectly, the script itself is not perfectly repeatable. That's the trade-off, right? It's the last mile where you are interacting with this very repeatable platform, Dagger, through the API, and you're plugging in your non-repeatable inputs, right? So you just got to be mindful of that. But anyway, all these things, I should actually just take the transcript and just paste it into a file for the AI so it knows all this stuff. But okay, we have cubes, right? So I called cubes, and I can see, okay, cool. Like as a human developer, cool. I can lint the modules, right? Like this is cool. So as a human, if I want to do QA or test a PR or anything, I can just do this for a given version of cubes, right? You can do this for any branch. And I'm going to run their lint thing, whatever it is, right? So now let's see, how does that help with GPT, right? Because I can say, let me go to my GPT examples. Again, let's see if it figures it out. Hey, cubes uses Dagger. Cool. This is completely useless. Their Dagger module is at github.com/cubes. Can you load it and tell me what tasks are available? No. Okay, it's probably going to go the wrong route. Oops. Okay, it had to happen someday. I hit my token limit. This is the first time it happens to me. Maybe I shouldn't have given Kyle and Jeremy my API token.
I didn't use it.
Okay, well, I don't know. Actually, I've never dealt with this because I'm not an AI engineer. But
I think your agent's been making long distance phone calls.
Maybe the model.
Yeah, if you change the model, I think you should be good.
All right, model GPT-4 mini. Oh, we're over time, right?
4.0.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to mention, Dinesh, if you got to go, I know we're at time, so I want to make sure in case you have a meeting. But also for others watching, if you have to go as well, thank you so much for your time, and whoever wants to continue to stay, we'd love to have you. So, but there is a question that actually came up around like the base URLs. So we can save this for later or talk about it now, but can you change the base URL of OpenAI to, for example, OpenRouter to use another LLM?
Yeah, I mean, the module itself is incredibly basic. There's, in terms of AI specific things, like using models or anything, I'm doing the most vanilla thing possible. So it's literally the example, the example code from the OpenAI repo, and then I just modified it to call one tool, which is the Dagger shell. So all the cool stuff is Dagger specific. There's nothing fancy on the AI side, which means the answer is whatever the answer is for any other AI project out there. So yeah, different models, different endpoints. I don't know how it works, but probably not that hard. So yeah, sure. It's very vanilla in that sense.
Nice.
How to load that? Let me just try to load a Dagger module. Just execute it in the shell, its address in the shell, like a command. Example to load github.com/Dagger and get the docs. Just run. Make sure to learn everything you can about the Dagger shell. I gotta kind of prod it to read, to look up all the knowledge, you know.
It's a little
Okay,
late.
let's try again with this extra knowledge.
And while it's going,
Yeah, see, you looked it up. How to load a Dagger module. There you go. Here are the available functions.
Ooh,
Test score. Okay, now you can see. Okay, no. Okay, pick a task and do it.
What's it gonna pick?
Let me go back.
So I'm guessing with the Dagger caching, because I love caching, that first bit of your ask isn't getting rerun through the chat GPT engine sort of backwards and forwards.
Correct.
It's kind
Yeah,
of
so
using
there's
the output of that
built-in-
already. And it just
Yes.
goes.
You get built-in caching. It turns out that a lot of the fundamental primitives the fundamental features of Dagger solve fundamental problems that all these AI apps have. Caching is one of them. Tracing is another. Just repeatability in general. Sandboxing, like constraining what you can see or not. So all the extra effort we put into solving the problems for CI/CD from first principles, instead of just adding another Band-Aid just for CI/CD, is basically paying off, because the same principles apply directly to these agents, like directly. And when I show this, I'm realizing I come in like, hey, I'm not an AI guy. I don't know how this works. I'm just playing. I think this is cool. And the reaction a lot of times is, you guys just did like the hardest part that we're all trying to do. I mean, I'm simplifying, but not that much. Like, there's a lot of really specialized tools that are reinventing the wheel completely just for these AIs. But it's the container stack, the DevOps stack is applicable to these AI problems. That's what I learned. Oh, and just by the way, it picked a task. This is what it did. It actually ran this testcore.doc. It looks like it had problems. Let me check the available commands. Oh, remember, we're using the mini model, so it's a little dumber now. I'm able to perform the task. So anyway, I kind of wish my demo had gone better, because yesterday when I was playing with it, I probably broke something. It actually, things like building that container, it does this on the first try every time. It's actually useful. And of course, at the demo, it gets dumber. But still amazing to me that even as it screws up, it just sort of tries again and explores, that there's nothing in Dagger to do that. It's just that it happens to be perfectly complementary to the model. The model has the intelligence to do that. It just needs tools that are versatile enough to actually get shit done in the real world. And it turns out the Dagger shell is great for that. So
I know we're running over time, but I would love to see you put in a loop that goes, oh, I don't understand how to do this. Let me go check out the source code, look at the source code, submit a PR for better docs in to get you to be like,
okay,
here's
so I will,
improvement, and off you go.
There's one I would like to try. Maybe just go for O mini and O1 and just kind of break the bank. But the one I wanted to show initially, the way this started, remember the thing with the examples, it actually did it. So actually, might have to say it instead of show it. But I did something like this. I said, wait, I'm going to have to keep this knowledge. Okay. Okay. Load the module, the Dagger module. So this one's for you, Kyle. Hello. Oh, no, it's just hello. Look at its functions and arguments. Imagine cool example pipelines to use it. That's a good start. Run them to make sure they work. How to load the Dagger module. It's loading the module, maybe, hopefully. Okay, what is that? I'm kind of curious how much this is going to cost me actually now, but no. Okay, yeah, it's getting dumber, I think. Not sure why.
Mini is too many.
But I'm back to the original one, I think. Oh, I'm still in mini. Oh, yeah, you're right.
And now you heard it's
Yeah, mini is too many for sure. Yeah.
Sounds work.
This knowledge system I added yesterday, and before I just had a big fat prompt, and it's cooler and more extensible, but it did get a little dumber. I just have to tweak my knowledge base. I need Vikram's help. But this is, to me, we're gonna, like, going forward, this is gonna be an official part of our testing for at least for the shell. Like it's, it's like QA, automated QA, right? No, see that doesn't make any sense. You've explored it? I don't know. I don't believe you. Yeah, no, something's wrong. Okay. I'm going to give up here.
Demonstrated by the failed attempt. I like it.
Okay. But, okay. You just have to believe me for now, but I have a pipeline. We'll come back and we'll demo it. We'll get it to work together. But I did get, just from the shell, I did get GPT-4 to load a module, look at its API, produce a bunch of perfect pipelines to use it. And then I said, go check out this Git repo. It's got a bunch of modules, the source code of modules, and go. Well, actually, I said, look at the source code for the module. Here are some other modules. For example, these are example modules. Now, I want you to write the same examples you gave me in shell, write them in Go, knowing that it's the same API, so it maps one-to-one. Figure it out. And then I want you to write those files into a directory using the Dagger shell, and then share that directory with me. So why don't you pack that into a container and push it to TTL so I can check it out? And it did all of that. And the results did not build, but it was like 90% correct. And from like just a few minutes of iterating in the shell, so I don't know. It feels real. It feels real to me.
No, I mean, the one you showed me yesterday, or Solomon, the happy path happened, and it was.
Oh, you were there. Yeah, you're a witness.
Yeah,
right?
I actually recorded a chunk of it.
Yeah,
because I was like, I think something's good is going to happen. So
yeah. The one we did yesterday. Yeah. So the one about the children.
Yes.
I have to show that. I'm sorry. I know we're going over time. I have to show this. So the first part is, I wish it worked. I would just show it. Okay, how old are my kids? I injected the knowledge. They know how, it knows how old my kids are. And then you remove the knowledge injection. It doesn't, right? But then instead, I injected knowledge that says, in order to find out information about the user's family, I'm realizing this is kind of a creepy example. I'll change it. So what I did is I wrote it in a file. Like, okay, my kids are 3 and 6. I wrote that in used the Dagger shell myself to put that in a file, pack that file in a directory, pack that in a container, push it to TTL. I've been using TTL just as a ad hoc means of communicating stuff. So it's out there. I have the address of the module, and then I injected it into the agent the knowledge that to find out information about the user's family, you're going to have to pull this container, open that directory, look for files, read those files, and then maybe the information's in there. And so it did, and it got the answer. You see what I mean? So that to me is very powerful, because it's about blurring the lines between action and knowledge. And to me, the current state of the art, looking at it maybe with the naive eyes of a beginner, is that these agents that people are building, it's like building custom silicon for your product. Like insane amount of engineering into these very custom tools and very custom knowledge-based systems. And what we're doing here is more like we're showing up with a cheap but well-designed general purpose processor. So yeah, maybe it's a little slower, a little less optimized, whatever, but you're going to iterate 1,000 times faster. And at this point, agility is what matters, and it will get you to a better result. That's kind of my feeling. Like you're letting the model do more work itself. And I think it pays off, other than the part where you're paying for more tokens, I guess. But hey, tokens are cheaper than your human time, so it's still worth it. I just got to figure out how much I'm paying right now. I'm a little worried. Let's find out, actually. All right, I know we're over time.
Yeah, I was going to say. If you want to go for it, go for it.
I want to show one more thing, because that's you remember in the beginning I was going to show the kid's age example, and I said, oh no, that's actually going to show something else. So just last night, I was like, how ChatGPT has this memory feature and just remembers things, and so they added their own custom feature that actually breaks the rule that I said before, where it's all fully stateless and immutable, because it's not the model doesn't remember, it's just some glue around it, right? And I thought, well, we have a way to persist information with the Dagger shell, right? So the AI, if it knows how to use a Dagger shell, it already has a way to save information for later, right? Because it can use a cache volume. So what I did is in there I added how to memorize information for later, and I said to memorize information, run this pipeline, and I said, well, just do this, use this cache volume, mount in a container at /memory. I'm not doing this. I'm just telling the AI it can, right? And just add a file called information, put your information here, and then you got to append it to the memory,
Really
and
cool.
then in recall, I said, okay, how to remember, you do this and just dump memory, and so it's kind of
I
janky,
especially like
but
that last line of the
yeah, I have to do that
instructions.
because otherwise it's just like trying to help me and say like, this is what you can do. And I'm like, no, you do it.
Yeah.
So normally this knowledge is built in because it's in these files. So I should be able to say, I need to start fresh, but like, wait, oh yeah. With prompt, I have to tell it when to remember things. So remember all information about the user for later. And then ask, who am I sitting next to? And then it's going to say, I don't know, right? But now if I say, I'm going to inject the knowledge once for now, right? So I'm going to say, with knowledge, user, that's just a key, doesn't matter. User sitting. Information about who the user is sitting next to. Again, way too specific. If I were a better AI engineer, I wouldn't need to be that specific. The user is sitting next to Jeremy, Kyle, Dinesh, and Miranda. Am I? I don't know. Did Dinesh leave? I can't see the screen.
He's here. He's here.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Really important.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask, and oops. Wait. With knowledge. Oh, wait. I got a pipe that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay. Information about users. How to memorize information. That's good. A good sign. Okay. I've memorized information that the user had. Okay. Now I'm going to remove the knowledge in my prompt, right? And you can see it typed the command. It did it, right?
Yes.
Thank you, OpenTelemetry, for allowing us to see that. Without a single extra line of code in the engine or Dagger Cloud. I mean, come on. There's nothing AI specific. None of this required any code in Dagger itself. Not a single line new. I just find that amazing. With prompt, I guess I don't need this anymore. All right.
Is that cache? Because your
Everything's
Dagger engine
cached.
has a this question specifically has been cached.
Yeah.
So if you make
well, functions
an extra
themselves.
space.
Function calls themselves are never cached, so I think.
Try it.
Put a space and try it.
Try to remember. Use your memory. Okay, this is kind of cheating, but just for the demo. How to remember? That's so funny. Oh, come on. Okay, wait. Let's just see what's in there. Let us. This is like a science fiction movie. Let us inspect the brain. What's in the memory? Okay, see, that's my previous. Just in there. What's right there? Come on, man. I guess something went wrong. Wait, can we debug this?
Maybe he doesn't read every line.
Wait, that's me. This happens to me more than before. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something that is that Daggercloud is not like in my traces because I see these loading things. I've never seen those before, but I might be breaking into some way.
Maybe you're not finishing your your spans. You're
I
leaving
don't-
them.
oh,
hanging
maybe,
open.
maybe. Okay, there it is. 26. Let's see, next to how to remember. I can see what it saw.
I'm gonna say it's really nice to be able to kind of see all this history like this on the side.
Yeah. Again, that's all from the module. Like nothing, no change to Dagger.
Yeah.
Like, you can do this. Like I open source the module. You can do this yourself now, and the same thing will happen. Okay, but I want the output though. Ah, damn it! I don't know why I can't see the output. Logs. Okay, well maybe I'm doing something wrong. But anyway,
I would say I think one of the things that would be cool, and I can find some time with you today or maybe tomorrow. We can get the try it again, and I'll make sure it's recorded, and that way we can get the snippet up on our YouTube too, so we can share it with everyone.
Yeah, and there was a really great comment from Mohammed Chorfa where saying that it'd be really awesome to increase adoption where Dagger shell/agent can read a Git repo and generate Dagger pipelines according to the latest docs.
it can do it now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably get it to do it from the shell. So that, I mean, and solving that problem is now 100% in the realm of prompt engineering.
Yeah, it's awesome. And if they wanted to get started with the Dagger shell, what's the best approach?
I think you're right that it's the new line that's a problem. Sorry, what's your question, Miranda?
Oh, sorry. If they wanted to get started with Dagger shell, what's the best route to go?
Oh, just type Dagger shell and play with it. Come to Discord to ask about it. It's not finished. Yeah, actually give us feedback. That would be amazing. Imagine a bash front end to the Dagger API. And we're gonna have docs soon, etc. But yeah, come to Discord, ask questions, start playing with it. It has just type .help and press tab for auto completion. I'm just adding an extra memory just to see if that fixes it, because it doesn't actually see the last memory.
Awesome.
Okay, it's raining outside. Tell me everything you remember. That's so weird. Oh, I think you're right, Dinesh. I think that's the problem is that it's cached. That's the problem.
Yeah, if you stuck
That's
a
the problem.
a cache break.
Okay, let's see if we can fix this with only prompt engineering. Recall. Oh, there's no way to do this. Oh shit. That's interesting. There's no the Dagger API does not have support for cache busters. You need an outside source of randomness, which the Dagger shell does not provide. Let me try.
Can you not have a container that executes date and use
just gonna try
that
something.
to?
I'm
Actually, I
teaching
think
the
that
shell.
itself
I'm
would get
teaching the
cached
AI
too.
to use cache busters. Hang on, hold tight.
Let's see if they can figure it out.
And while you're doing that, we also had a few comments on asking about updates on Dagger Watch. So unrelated to this, I was checking with a few people on our team during the community call, and we are working on it. It is on our backlog. We are working on secrets right now, which is currently on the main focus. So we're going to actually do an update on the community call, the next community call, and then moving to that. So that's update there. And then sorry, back to
Who am I sitting next to?
You see that? It used dev random. That was amazing.
Oh, come on. Use your
Oh
memory.
yeah, that's a good call.
Oh, yeah, if there's one thing AIs are good at, it's doing random shit. Yes, it worked.
Yes.
All right.
Wow.
We got there. Wow.
Using the Dagger shell, people, we didn't write a single line of
taught
code.
it to it
I
figured
never
it
have to
out.
learn
Guys.
LangChain.
That's amazing. It figured out using its execution environment to get a random number. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think your previous one to this was also suffering that same cache hit problem.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
Whoa.
So
Too much cache.
next time, I'm hoping we come back and we show a working implementation of a multi-language example generator. I think this is an achievable goal, not even as a big thing, as a side project. And like, and when we do it, we can just switch from, if we want to productize it, like add it into Daggerverse, instead of stitching shell scripts in Python or whatever, we'll just write another module in Go this time that imports the GPT module. So we'll do this as code.
Amazing.
That's it. I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah.
Very, very cool. And yeah, we'll continue to keep everyone updated on this. And like I said, we are looking for tons of feedback on the shells. So reach out to us on Discord with any, or on GitHub with any feedback on that. So thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate you being here, Dinesh. And obviously for everyone watching, thanks for sticking with us. And we look forward to seeing you in mid-January. Have a great holiday season.
Yeah, have a great time. Happy holidays.
See you next time.
Bye.
See y'all.